everyone. So we have a literal third wheel. Poor Jervis. Um, he was not on the program, but he's actually has come to support this. He came to the last program and has been very involved in the delivery of the project and in the creation of this lovely report. Because none of us are techies, Jervis made it pretty. We wrote it and Jervis made it gorgeous. So we wanted to share some findings. I am Lisa Duplessis. I'm from the 519. We're located in Toronto, and we are the largest providers of queer and trans specific programming in probably Ontario. I don't want to say outside of Ontario. Our work has been over a very long time focused on our community. And one of our largest programs are our Newcomer program. And that's going to become important as our research unfolds. This year, the 519 turns 50. So, yeah, we've been doing this for a while. So today we will share findings from our work for the REC project. And the 519 focused specifically on the experiences of queer and trans newcomers and immigrants exploring self-employment in Canada. Our goal is to better understand the motivations, the barriers, and supports that shape entrepreneurial pathways for this community. I want to give a big shout out to Shelly Ann Skinner. She isn't here, but Uplift Black had a partnership with us and played a huge role in helping us dig into this research. So our presentation is a little bit more granular than the ones you've seen so far because we wanted to bring the voices of the people we spoke to into this space. And we spoke to more than 100 people. So who we are, our role in the project. Oh, it's there. So as I said, we brought the perspectives of queer and trans newcomers and immigrants, and we combine both program delivery and community-based research activities. This included client intakes related to entrepreneurial interest, delivering, this says 12. We did 10. Oh, 12 workshops, yes, on skills building for queer and trans newcomers, and we did 10 focus groups between January and February 2026. We also conducted outreach to ensure diverse participation and interviewed financial institutions. That was really interesting. To better understand how lending systems interact with the newcomer, with the LGBTQ, with the Black, because almost everybody we spoke to, if not 100% of people that we spoke to, identified as Black. And how those intersections played a role in the way financial institutions viewed them and gave them service or not. Together, this all helped us to gather community and institutional perspectives on access to entrepreneurship. I want to introduce my lovely team behind me, Polina, Rakina, and our third wheel, Jervis.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Polina Rakina. I'm the manager of Newcomer Settlement at the 519, and I will be. Let's go to the next slide. I'll be talking to you about the context of why this work actually matters. And entrepreneurship is often framed as a space for innovation, as a space for opportunity and creativity. However, our participants, they showed and told us a little bit of a different story. We heard a little bit about it this morning. So our participants, and LGBTQ newcomers and immigrants, they often view self-employment as actually a response to structural barriers and labor market. And it's not just a career aspiration for them. And folks described challenges such as you can see, non-recognition of foreign credentials, the requirement for Canadian work experience, discrimination, and limited pathways into the stable employment. In this context, entrepreneurship becomes a strategy of rebuilding stability and professional dignity. And that is the 519 indeed. So who we spoke to, as Lisa mentioned, we spoke to over 100 queer and trans newcomers and immigrants, and 95% of folks were people of color. And participants included, the participants who participated were youth under 29, adults over 50, individuals with prior entrepreneurial experience in their home countries. We had special groups for women entrepreneurs, and also most of folks were dwelling in Toronto, but we also had separate focus groups for those who were located outside of Toronto and Greater Toronto area, and also in Simcoe County, where Uplift Black operates, our partner in this project. And the focus groups, they explored key themes, which would be motivations for entrepreneurship, barriers that they encountered, experiences with financing, which was a huge one, and strategies that participants found particularly helpful and that would hopefully inform future entrepreneurial funding. That's what, and we were gonna explore those themes in future slides, and Jervis will cover.
Thank you. I'm Jervis Stone, Manager for Community Service and Programs at the 519. And again, Polina talked about newcomers being excluded from the labor market. That is exactly what we saw. Many participants arrived in Canada with professional experiences. Many of them are lawyers, doctors, educators, business owners, engineers, designers, but struggle to re-enter their fields. They are frequently told that they lack quote unquote Canadian experience. One participant explained that coming here, it's like your degree is narrowed down to a high school. Everything that you worked for before disappears. For many of our LGBTQ plus newcomers, these challenges are often compounded by racism, homophobia, transphobia, and age discrimination. As a result, entrepreneurship became a way to reclaim control, rebuild financial stability, and use the skills that they already had to build belonging and in Canada. Another participant also put it as if the system won't open a door for you, sometimes you have to build your own door. But this is where another set of challenge comes in, where there are other barriers to building your own doors. Participants also made it clear that starting a business as a newcomer comes with significant barriers. From our research, we realized that there were four main challenges. The first of which was access to capital and financing, particular for those who don't have the Canadian credit history. The second was credential recognition, which often requires costly recertification before professionals can legally operate in Canada. For instance, an electrician back home has to go through recertification in Canada for up to 5 years before they are certified to start doing electrician work here in Canada. So you're talking about a 45-year-old person who came to Canada, has to go 5 years for recertification, and at the age of 50 is now able to be an electrician in Canada. That is also equivalent to the number of years they are waiting through the refugee system or the immigration system to become a citizen of Canada. The third barrier was regulatory complexity, with many participants struggling to navigate registration, licensing, and tax system. It's very complicated to understand how to set up business in Canada, and it's often not in languages that are accessible. One participant explained that nobody tells you where to start. You're learning everything by trial and error. Together, these financial, regulatory, and social barriers make entrepreneurship both a possibility, but also a significant challenge.
We would like to illustrate some of the experiences of our participants, focus group participants. And this is the story of Mel, as you can see. She arrived in Canada later in life with a university degree and extensive professional experience. And despite submitting more than 70 resumes, she received very few responses from employers. So eventually, she began selling fresh juices at the community events, and it was a way to generate some income. And over time, this small activity developed into a catering business that allowed her to rebuild some economic stability. And her experience highlights how self-employment can emerge after repeated unsuccessful attempts to join the labor market. And we see these stories quite often. And another example, we had another program participant who had extensive experience in the automotive and industry and repair and mechanical work. So, although the individual had strong technical skills, starting a business in Canada required completing additional certifications and licensing requirements. And as he rightfully said, he was said, "Give me a car, and I will fix it, and that's will be my exam." But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in Canada. And even though he possessed all the expertise, he was unable to legally operate until the regulatory requirements were met. So this story, as many others, reflects a broader pattern which newcomer bring sometimes invaluable experiences, but they encounter structural barriers related to credential recognition and professional licensing.
Yeah, and I'm back talking about financial exclusion. I manage a suite of financial empowerment programs at the 519, so I think it's fitting that I talk about this. Many participants could not qualify for loans because of their status in Canada. It's also because they lack the Canadian credit history. Immigration status, as we all have heard, plays a critical role. Temporary status residents, refugee claimants are often excluded from the traditional lending systems. Many participants describe the difficulty navigating grants and funding opportunities, which are often fragmented and difficult to understand. Because of these barriers, many entrepreneurs rely on informal financial support, such as family and friends, or personal savings to start their business, while others may delay starting their businesses. Uh, uh, as one participant summarized, the ideas are there, the skills are there, but what we're missing is the opportunity. This highlights that the issue is not the lack of entrepreneurial talent, but the structural barriers to financial access. So we also spoke with representatives from the banking institutions, and these are some of the things that we understood. Most explained that the financial systems, the small business lending, typically requires permanent residency or Canadian status. Uh, it's that some of them also requires established credit history or demonstrated revenue streams, while others require collateral, some of which many of our newcomers don't have. While these requirements are there to reduce the financial risk, they also exclude many newcomers from building their lives through entrepreneurial endeavors. As one bank representative explained, if someone does not have their permanent residence, they won't qualify for the loan or for a line of credit. Participants explained, emphasized that there needs to be low barrier financial support, including microgrants, support, startup funding, and mentorship programs, which Paulina will talk about in a little bit. With the right support, newcomer entrepreneurs can build businesses, create jobs, and strengthen local economies.
We also asked the question, what would help? What would you like to see? What could be useful in this particular, in a particular situation? And participants, they identified several supports that could significantly improve access to self-employment opportunities. And first and foremost, of course, financial barriers were identified. So access to low barrier is the keyword, micro grants, up to $5,000 could become essential to cover the early costs of entrepreneurship, such as equipment, supplies, or licensing fees. Another thing that was highlighted is credential support. So participants would like to see support with, first of all, funding to get that credential evaluation, and guidance, which couldn't be stressed enough to help navigate the certification and licensing processes. Canada can be overwhelming for newcomers. Definitely know it from firsthand experience. And many skilled newcomers, for them, even the modest support for credential recognition could make it possible to apply for apply their professional expertise in Canada. And on the next slide, we see the mentorship, as we mentioned, and like Celine mentioned in Micah's report this morning, that reliance on chosen family, on actually people who have been there, who understand newcomer experiences as well as entrepreneurship. Folks mentioned that, desire to connect with fellow entrepreneurs who understand what newcomers are going through would be critical for them. And we felt quite inspired by this, and Lisa will talk about what's coming next, hopefully. And mentorship can provide that guidance on navigating, first of all, tax system that's quite convoluted, marketing strategies, and regulatory requirements. Participants also wanted to have access to clear information and accessible and plain language information, including in various languages, could significantly reduce the confusion that exists and for the newcomers, and they can move forward with greater confidence. So the participants, they recommended to have the centralized information hubs that clearly explain the steps involved in starting and operating a small business in Canada.
So we've heard from them. And here's what they said in the very end, which I think is really, really important, is what happens next. When you ask people to come into a space and pour their hearts out and tell you what their experiences were, they want two things. They want it reflected back. So we're going to share some of our reports with them. This is what we heard from you. But they also want to know what's next. They need help. So what are we doing? Are we building toolkits? Like, how are we removing some? How are we helping them? Where's the research going? Is it helping to remove those barriers? So this is my appeal to the folk in the room, to the Chamber of Commerce, whoever is in the room that can fund the continuation of this project. We should not leave people hanging. We have asked them to tell us what those barriers are. Let us come together again and find another pot of money to figure out how we help them remove those barriers, how we do the leap over. So, sorry, I can't see the screen. Well, the screen is pretty self-explanatory. What we have done is, because last time we were here, we got 5 minutes to speak. I'm just throwing that at you, Jane. I'm so sorry. So we have decided to share our presentation for you in print, so that you've missed anything that, if you missed anything, I have one hand, guys. If you missed anything that we have said, we only have 30 copies. We're so sorry. But we can share. You can share, read it, pass it along if you don't want it. But we wanted you to have a permanent record of what we said here today. Thank you so, so much for including us in this, for welcoming the voices of the people we represent ourselves, because all three of us are queer newcomers to Canada at one point or the other. So thank you.